What if I told you a city once stood unshakable, its walls towering so high no army dared approach? Generations had tried, but none had broken through. Gates sealed tight, stones thick as mountains, Jericho's the fortress no one could conquer. But then came a people with no siege towers, no iron weapons, no war cry of men. Instead, silence. Trumpets, footsteps echoing day after day. For 6 days they circled, and the walls stood firm. But on the 7th day something happened that no soldier, no king, no enemy could have imagined. Not by might, not by strength, but by obedience and faith, the impossible fell. This is not just a tale of stone and rubble, but of a God who proves that no wall can stand against his promise. This is the story of the fall of Jericho. Years before Jericho fell, God had spoken to Abraham, promising him a land for his descendants. Generations passed, and the Israelites became slaves in Egypt. But God raised up Moses, split the Red Sea, and led his people out. For 40 years they wandered in the desert, waiting, hoping, doubting, and learning. When Moses died, Joshua became their leader. Now, across the Jordan River, Jericho stood as the first barrier to the Promised Land. Before the army marched, Joshua sent 2 spies into Jericho. They slipped through the gates at night, but the king heard whispers of strangers in the city. Soldiers searched the streets. The spies found shelter in the house of Rahab, a woman whose window opened to the city wall. She hid them under stalks of flax and told the soldiers, "Yes, the men came to me, but they left at dusk. Hurry after them, you may catch them." When the soldiers left, Rahab turned to the spies. Her voice trembled, but her words were strong. "We have heard how the Lord dried up the Red Sea. Our hearts melt with fear. Promise me this, when your God gives you this land, spare my family." The spies gave their word. She tied a scarlet cord in her window, a sign of faith, a mark of rescue. As Joshua stood near Jericho, gazing at its walls, a man appeared before him, sword drawn, radiant with power. Joshua asked, "Are you for us or for our enemies?" The man replied, "Neither, but as commander of the Lord's army I have now come." Joshua fell to the ground in reverence. The battle was not his, it was God's. Then came the most unusual battle plan in history. God told Joshua, "For 6 days, march around the city once each day, in silence. 7 priests will carry trumpets before the Ark of the Covenant. On the 7th day, march around the city 7 times. Then, when the trumpets sound, all the people will shout. No swords, no ladders, no siege engines. Just marching, trumpets, and silence." Day 1. The priests lifted the ark, the army followed, and the people marched. Trumpets blew, but no word was spoken. From the walls, Jericho's soldiers sneered, "Is this your plan? Walking?" Day 2. Again they marched, circling the city in silence. The people of Jericho watched in unease. Day 3, Day 4, Day 5, Day 6, still no attack. On the 7th lap, Joshua cried out, "Shout, for the Lord has given you the city." The trumpets blared, the people shouted with all their strength, and then it happened. The ground shook, cracks ripped through the walls, stone tumbled like waves of thunder. Jericho, the city no one could conquer, collapsed in a heartbeat. Amid the chaos, the spies ran to Rahab's house. Her scarlet cord fluttered in the window, and just as promised, she and her family were spared. A woman who once feared became part of God's story of salvation. The city was taken, but Joshua gave one command. The city and all within it are devoted to the Lord. Jericho was not just a victory of war. It was a declaration that God alone had given them the land. The fall of Jericho was not about walls of stone. It was about the walls of fear, doubt, and impossibility. God showed his people that victory comes not by human strength, but by trust in him. Generations later, the echo of that shout still resounds, a reminder that no wall, no fear, no sin, no obstacle is too strong for God to break. This is the story of the fall of Jericho. Kindly subscribe and hit the notification bell so that when we post a new video, you will be notified.